The autumn leaves danced through the streets of Riverside Falls as Nathan Sterling drove his sleek black Mercedes through the town gates. 15 years had transformed him from a struggling student into a self-made millionaire, but the small Virginia town remained untouched by time. The old clock tower still chimed every hour, the bakery on 5th Street still filled the air with the scent of fresh cinnamon rolls, and the river that gave the town its name still flowed peacefully through the center of everything. Nathan felt his chest tighten with memories he had carefully locked away. This place held his childhood, his dreams, and the one person who had believed in him before anyone else did. Claire Dawson. Even thinking her name made something inside him shift uncomfortably. He had left her behind when he went to pursue his education and career, promising to return but never quite making it back. Life had pulled him in different directions, and eventually, the calls became less frequent, the texts stopped, and silence filled the space where their connection used to be. His grandmother Rose had insisted he come home for her birthday. At 85, she was still sharp as a tack and twice as stubborn. Nathan smiled thinking about her last phone call where she had simply said that some things could not wait forever, and neither could she. There was something in her voice that told him this visit mattered more than the others he had missed. The Sterling family home sat on a hill overlooking the river, a beautiful colonial house with white pillars and a wraparound porch. Rose was already waiting outside, her silver hair pinned up elegantly, wearing her favorite lavender dress. Nathan barely had time to park before she was walking toward him with surprising energy for her age. He embraced her carefully, overwhelmed by how much he had missed this feeling of unconditional love. Rose held his face in her weathered hands and studied him with those knowing blue eyes that seemed to see right through all his expensive clothes and success. "You look tired, Nathan. Money does not buy rest, does it?" she asked gently. "No, Grandma. It really does not," he admitted, surprised by how quickly she had seen through him. "Come inside. We have much to talk about before tonight's celebration. Half the town will be there, you know." She linked her arm through his and led him into the house. The community center was decorated with golden balloons and streamers when Nathan arrived that evening. The gathering was more elaborate than he expected, with at least 100 people filling the large hall. He recognized many faces from his youth, now older but still familiar. They greeted him with warmth and curiosity, asking about his business and life in Seattle. Nathan answered politely but found himself distracted, scanning the room for someone he was not even sure would be there. Then he saw her standing near the refreshment table, laughing at something an elderly woman was saying. Claire Dawson looked different yet exactly the same. Her chestnut hair was shorter now, falling just past her shoulders in soft waves. She wore a simple emerald dress that brought out the green in her eyes. There were subtle changes, a maturity in her face, a quietness in her posture that had not been there before, but she was still the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and Nathan watched as recognition dawned on her face. The smile faded from her lips, replaced by something more complicated. Surprise, maybe. Uncertainty, definitely. She set down the cup she was holding and stood completely still, as if she was deciding whether to approach him or disappear into the crowd. Nathan made the decision for both of them. He walked through the sea of people until he stood in front of her, close enough to see the flecks of gold in her eyes that he had once memorized. "Hello, Claire." His voice came out softer than he intended. "Nathan." She breathed his name like a prayer or maybe a warning. "I heard you were coming. Rose mentioned it last week. You look incredible." The words felt inadequate for what he wanted to say. "Thank you. You look successful." There was no bitterness in her voice, just a statement of fact. An older gentleman interrupted them, wanting to introduce Nathan to his grandson who was interested in technology. Claire used the moment to excuse herself, slipping away before Nathan could stop her. He spent the next hour being pulled from one conversation to another, all while keeping track of where Claire was in the room. She seemed to be doing the same thing, their eyes meeting repeatedly across the distance. When the band started playing old country songs, Nathan found her again. This time she was alone, standing by the window looking out at the darkening sky. "Dance with me." He said it as a statement rather than a question. Claire turned to face him, conflict clear on her face. "I do not think that is a good idea." "Why not?" "We are old friends. Just one dance for old times." He extended his hand. She hesitated for so long that Nathan thought she would refuse. But then she placed her hand in his, and he led her to the dance floor. As they began to sway to the music, Nathan was transported back to their high school prom, when they had danced together as more than friends but less than what they wanted to be. "I heard about Michael." "I am so sorry, Claire," Nathan said quietly, referring to her late husband. He had learned about her marriage and recent widowhood from his grandmother earlier that day. "Thank you. It has been 2 years now." She spoke without looking at him, her voice steady but sad. "And you have a daughter." "Emma. She is 7 and the light of my life." This time Claire did look up at him, and he saw a fierce protective love in her eyes. "I would like to meet her sometime if that would be okay." Claire pulled back slightly, creating space between them even as they continued dancing. "Why are you here, Nathan?" "Really here, I mean. Not just for Rose's birthday." "Because my grandmother asked me to come. Because I have been running for 15 years and I am tired. Because I never stop thinking about you." He held her gaze. "Because some parts of our past deserve better endings than the ones we gave them." Tears welled in Claire's eyes, but she blinked them back. "You left me, Nathan. You promised you would come back, and you just stopped calling. Do you have any idea how much that hurt?" "I know. I was young and stupid and so focused on proving myself that I forgot what actually mattered. I am not asking you to forgive me right away, but maybe we could talk. Really talk." The song ended, and Claire stepped out of his arms. "Meet me tomorrow at the Riverside Park. 10 in the morning. But Nathan, I need you to understand something. I am not the girl you left behind anymore. My life is complicated now, and I have Emma to think about. Whatever this is, it cannot just be about us." "I understand." He meant it. Claire walked away, leaving Nathan standing on the dance floor with his heart pounding harder than it had in years. Around him, the party continued, but all he could think about was tomorrow morning and the chance to finally say everything he should have said 15 years ago. The morning sun painted golden patterns across the Riverside Park as Nathan arrived 15 minutes early. The old wooden bridge still stretched over the water, the same bridge where he and Claire had carved their initials when they were 16. He walked over to it, running his fingers across the weathered wood until he found it. NS plus CD inside a lopsided heart. Time had faded the carving, but it was still there, a testament to a promise he had broken. Claire appeared on the path wearing jeans and a soft gray sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked nervous, carrying 2 coffee cups from the bakery downtown. She handed him one without a word, and they stood there for a moment, watching the water flow beneath the bridge. "I come here sometimes when I need to think." Claire finally spoke, her voice quiet against the sound of the river. "After Michael died, this became my refuge. I would sit on that bench over there and try to figure out how to keep going for Emma's sake." Nathan listened, respecting her need to share at her own pace. They walked slowly along the familiar path, the same one they had walked countless times as teenagers. "Michael was a good man," Claire continued, staring ahead. "We met at college, got married young, and moved back here to raise a family. He was a teacher at the elementary school, loved by everyone. 2 years ago, he had a heart condition nobody knew about. One morning he just did not wake up. Emma was only 5. She barely understands that he is never coming back." The pain in Claire's voice cut through Nathan like a blade. "I cannot imagine how hard that must have been. How hard it still is." The hardest part was not the grief, though that nearly destroyed me. It was the guilt. Claire stopped walking and turned to face him. Michael knew about you, Nathan. I told him everything when we started dating. He knew he was not my first love, but he loved me anyway. He gave me a beautiful life and a wonderful daughter. And sometimes I lie awake at night feeling guilty because even after everything he gave me, part of my heart never stopped belonging to someone else. Nathan felt his throat tighten. Claire, I am so sorry. Sorry for leaving, sorry for not being here when you needed someone, sorry for all of it. I am not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I am telling you because you need to understand where I am right now. I have built a life here. I teach art at the same elementary school where Michael worked. I have a daughter who is my entire world. I cannot afford to take risks with my heart anymore, and I definitely cannot risk hers. They reached the old oak tree where they used to sit for hours, talking about their dreams. Without discussing it, they both sat down in the same spots they had claimed as teenagers. The familiarity of it was both comforting and painful. Tell me about your life, Claire said, changing the subject. Rose says you built some kind of technology empire. Nathan laughed softly. Empire is generous. I developed software that helps companies manage their data more efficiently. It took off faster than I expected. Now I have offices in 3 cities, more money than I know what to do with, and a penthouse apartment that feels more like a hotel room than a home. That does not sound like the dream you used to talk about, Claire observed. It is not, Nathan admitted. I thought success would fill something inside me, but it just created more emptiness. I work 80-hour weeks because going home to that empty apartment reminds me of everything I do not have. Real connections, meaningful relationships, someone to share breakfast with. I have business associates and employees, but I cannot remember the last time I had an actual friend. What about relationships? Surely someone as successful as you has people interested. Nathan shook his head. I tried dating. Went out with women who seemed perfect on paper. Smart, accomplished, beautiful. But every single time, I found myself comparing them to a memory of a girl I knew when I was 17. Nobody ever measured up to that memory, so nothing ever lasted more than a few months. Claire looked away, but not before Nathan saw the emotion flash across her face. You cannot live in the past, Nathan. That girl you remember does not exist anymore. People change, circumstances change. You built your memory of me into something no real person could ever be. Maybe you are right. Nathan shifted closer. Or maybe I just never met anyone who made me feel the way you did. The way you still do, if I am being honest. Do not do that. Claire stood abruptly. Do not come back here after 15 years and say things like that. You have no idea what my life is like, what I have been through. You cannot just walk back in and expect everything to be the way it was. Nathan stood too, facing her. You are right, and I am sorry. I am not trying to rush anything or pretend the past did not happen. I just want a chance to know you again. The real you, not the memory. And I want you to know the real me, not the kid who left or the millionaire everyone sees now. Claire's shoulders dropped slightly, some of the tension leaving her body. What do you want from me, Nathan? What is the endgame here? You live in Seattle. Your entire life is there. I live here with my daughter. Even if there was something between us, how would that even work? I do not have all the answers, Nathan admitted. But I do know that sitting in my office yesterday, looking at spreadsheets and profit margins, all I could think about was getting back here to see you again. That has to mean something. Before Claire could respond, Nathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and saw 3 missed calls from his business partner and a string of urgent texts about a meeting he was supposed to be on a conference call for right now. He silenced the phone and put it back in his pocket. That is your life calling, Claire said softly. The one that does not fit with mine. Maybe I need a different life. The words came out before Nathan fully thought them through, but once he said them, he realized they were true. They spent the rest of the morning walking and talking, slowly rebuilding a bridge between them. Claire told him about her art classes, about Emma's love for drawing, about the small joys and struggles of single parenthood. Nathan shared stories about his business, the loneliness of success, and his growing realization that he had been chasing the wrong things. As noon approached, Claire checked her watch. I need to pick up Emma from my mother's house. She paused, then added. Would you like to come? Meet her properly? Nathan felt his heart skip. I would love that. Are you sure? No. Claire smiled slightly. But I am doing it anyway. Just remember, she is my priority. If this affects her negatively in any way, it ends immediately. Understood? Understood. Nathan agreed. They drove separately to a small house on Maple Street. Claire's mother, Linda, greeted them at the door with surprise and thinly veiled suspicion. She remembered Nathan and clearly had opinions about his return. But before she could say much, a whirlwind of energy burst through the door. Emma was a perfect blend of both her parents, with Claire's eyes and dark hair but a brightness that was entirely her own. She wore paint-stained overalls and had what looked like glitter in her hair. Mommy, look what Grandma and I made. She held up a colorful painting of a house with a garden. That is beautiful, sweetheart. Claire knelt down to examine it properly. Emma, this is Nathan. He is an old friend of Mommy's. Emma turned her curious gaze to Nathan. Are you the one Grandma Rose talks about? The one who builds computer stuff? That is me. Nathan knelt down too, meeting her at eye level. Your painting is really good. Are you an artist like your mom? I want to be. Emma said seriously. Mommy says I have talent, but I need to practice. Do you like art? I used to. I have not made time for it in a long time. Emma considered this. That is sad. Everyone should make time for art. Maybe you could come to our art class sometime. Mommy teaches kids on Saturdays. Nathan looked at Claire, who seemed both touched and terrified by her daughter's openness. I would really like that if your mom says it is okay. The three of them spent the afternoon together. They got ice cream at the parlor on Main Street, walked through the autumn fair that was set up in the town square, and Emma chattered endlessly about everything from her favorite books to the caterpillar she had found in the garden. Nathan found himself completely charmed by this little person who had no idea who he was or how much money he had. She just saw him as someone her mother trusted, and that was enough for her. As the sun began to set, Nathan walked them back to their car. Emma ran ahead to look at a fountain, giving them a moment alone. She is amazing, Claire. You have done an incredible job with her. Nathan said. Thank you. Claire watched her daughter with obvious love. She is my whole world, Nathan. I need you to understand that before this goes any further. I am not just a woman you used to know. I am a mother first, and that comes with responsibilities and complications you might not be ready for. Nathan reached out and gently took her hand. I understand. And I am not running away this time. I know I have to earn your trust again, earn the right to be part of your lives. I am willing to do that work if you will let me try. Claire squeezed his hand briefly before letting go. One day at a time, Nathan. That is all I can promise right now. One day at a time is enough. He smiled. As he drove back to his grandmother's house that evening, Nathan felt something he had not experienced in years. Hope. Not the hope that came with closing a business deal or launching a new product, but the deep, soul-filling hope that comes from connecting with something real. For the first time since he had left Riverside Falls 15 years ago, he felt like he might be exactly where he was supposed to be. Nathan had planned to stay in Riverside Falls for only 5 days, but 3 weeks later, he was still there. His business partner called daily with increasing frustration, board meetings were rescheduled, and his assistant sent worried emails about commitments piling up. But every morning when Nathan woke up in his grandmother's guest room, he made the conscious choice to stay one more day. The reason was simple and complicated all at once. Claire and Emma had become the center of his world in a way that both terrified and exhilarated him. He showed up at Claire's Saturday art classes, helping children mix paints and clean brushes. He learned that Emma loved strawberry pancakes and refused to wear anything but her favorite purple sneakers. He discovered that Claire hummed old jazz songs when she was concentrating on her artwork, a habit he had somehow forgotten but now treasured all over again. On a crisp October morning, Nathan arrived at the community center where Claire was preparing for a mural project. The town had approved funding to paint the side of the library, and Claire had designed something beautiful incorporating the history of Riverside Falls. She stood on a ladder, sketching outlines on the brick wall, completely absorbed in her work. "You are here early," Claire said without turning around, somehow sensing his presence. "Thought you might need help." Nathan picked up a paint tray. "Plus, I make excellent coffee, and I brought 2 cups. Claire climbed down and accepted the cup gratefully. "You know people are talking, right? About us spending so much time together. Let them talk." Nathan shrugged. "Does it bother you?" "A little," Claire admitted, setting down her coffee. "This is a small town, Nathan. Everyone knew Michael. They watched me grieve. Now they see me with you, and some of them think I am moving on too fast or dishonoring his memory. Mrs. Patterson at the grocery store actually told me I should wait at least 5 years before dating again. That is ridiculous. You do not owe anyone an explanation about how you live your life." "Maybe not, but their opinions affect Emma. Kids hear things their parents say. Last week, one of her classmates asked her if you were going to be her new daddy. She came home crying because she does not want to forget her real daddy." The words hit Nathan like a physical blow. He set down the paint tray carefully. "What did you tell her?" Claire's eyes filled with tears. "I told her that nobody could ever replace her father, that he would always be her daddy no matter what. And I told her that sometimes people come into our lives who care about us in different ways, and that is okay too. But Nathan, she is 7. She should not have to process complicated adult emotions because I decided to let someone back into my life." Nathan moved closer, wanting to comfort her but unsure if she would accept it. "Do you regret letting me back in?" "No." Claire wiped her eyes. "That is what makes this so hard. I do not regret it at all. These past 3 weeks have been the happiest I have felt in years. Emma adores you. You make her laugh in ways she has not laughed since Michael died. And me, I feel alive again. Like I am not just going through the motions of surviving but actually living." "Then what is the problem?" "The problem is that you have a life in Seattle. The problem is that I have spent 3 weeks in this beautiful bubble with you, and eventually it has to pop. You will go back to your company and your penthouse, and Emma and I will be here trying to figure out how to miss you all over again." Nathan took her hands in his, making her look at him. "What if I do not go back? What if I stay?" Claire pulled away, shaking her head. "You cannot make that decision based on 3 weeks, Nathan. Your entire career is in Seattle. You built that company from nothing. You have employees depending on you, investors, contracts. You cannot just walk away from all of that." "Why not? People do it all the time. They reassess their priorities and make changes. And what happens in 6 months when you realize you miss your old life? When small-town living starts to feel suffocating and you resent giving up everything you worked for?" Claire's voice rose slightly. "I cannot go through that, Nathan. More importantly, Emma cannot go through that. She is already getting attached to you. If you leave, it will break her heart. And honestly, it will break mine too. Before Nathan could respond, they heard voices approaching. A group of volunteers arrived to help with the mural project, and the intimate moment was lost. They spent the rest of the day painting alongside community members, but Nathan could not stop thinking about what Claire had said. She was right to be cautious. He had a track record of leaving Riverside Falls. But she was also wrong about one thing. This was not about 3 weeks. This was about 15 years of knowing something was missing from his life and finally understanding what it was. That evening, Nathan sat with his grandmother on her porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Rose rocked slowly in her chair, her wise eyes studying him with that knowing look she had perfected over 8 decades. "You are planning something." She said it as a fact, not a question. "How do you always know?" Nathan smiled. "I raised 4 children and helped raise 7 grandchildren. I know the look of a man standing at a crossroads." Rose took a sip of her tea. "The question is whether you have the courage to choose the right path." "I want to stay here, Grandma. I want to build a life with Claire and Emma. But she thinks I will regret giving up my company." "Will you?" Rose asked simply. Nathan thought about it honestly. "The company I built was supposed to give me freedom, but instead it became a prison. I work all the time but never feel fulfilled. I make more money than I can spend but have nobody to share it with. The board could run things without me. My partner has been begging for more control anyway. The company does not need me anymore. But Claire and Emma might." "Might is not enough, Nathan." Rose set down her tea and looked at him seriously. "Those 2 beautiful souls have been through tremendous loss. If you are going to be part of their lives, you need to be certain. Not mostly sure, not probably committed, but absolutely certain. Because anything less than that will hurt them more than if you had never come back at all." "I am certain, Grandma. I have never been more certain of anything." "Then stop talking to an old woman and go tell them." Rose smiled. "But do it right, Nathan. Show them you mean it." The next morning, Nathan made several phone calls. He contacted his business partner and proposed a buyout plan that would transition primary ownership over the next 6 months. He called a real estate agent about selling his Seattle penthouse. He reached out to contacts about setting up a small satellite office in Riverside Falls where he could consult remotely. By noon, he had set in motion a complete restructuring of his life. Then he went to find Claire. She was at the elementary school, her classroom filled with children's artwork covering every wall. Through the window, he could see her helping a student with a painting, her face patient and encouraging. Emma sat at a desk in the corner, working on her own project. Nathan waited until the class ended and the students filed out. Emma saw him first and ran over with a huge smile. "Nathan! Look what I made." She held up a painting of 3 stick figures holding hands in front of a house. 1 tall figure, 1 medium, and 1 small. "Who are they?" Nathan asked, though his heart already knew. "That is you, Mommy, and me," Emma said matter-of-factly. "We are a family in my picture. Is that okay?" Nathan knelt down to her level, his eyes stinging. "That is more than okay, Emma. That is perfect." Claire approached slowly, her expression cautious. "Emma, sweetie, can you go help Mrs. Morrison organize the art supplies in the storage room? I need to talk to Nathan for a minute." After Emma skipped away, Claire crossed her arms. "You cannot encourage her like that, Nathan. She is already imagining things that might not happen. What if I want them to happen?" Nathan stood and took a deep breath. "I talked to my business partner this morning. We are working out a plan for me to step back from daily operations. I am selling my place in Seattle. I am staying here, Claire. Permanently." Claire's face went pale. "You cannot do that." You cannot upend your entire life because of 3 weeks. It is not about 3 weeks. Nathan moved closer. It is about 15 years of making the wrong choices and finally having the chance to make the right one. I do not want to run a company that does not need me. I want to be somewhere I am needed, somewhere I matter. I want Saturday morning pancakes with Emma and painting murals with you. I want to be here for school plays and art shows and all the normal, beautiful, ordinary moments that make up a real life. Tears streamed down Claire's face. What if it does not work? What if we try this and you realize you made a mistake? Then at least I tried. Nathan gently wiped away her tears. I would rather risk everything for a chance at real happiness than spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been. I love you, Claire. I loved you when we were 17, I loved you every day I was gone, and I love you now. Maybe I never stopped. Claire let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. This is crazy. You are crazy. Probably. Nathan smiled. But is it a kind of crazy you could live with? She looked at him for a long moment, and Nathan saw the exact second when her walls came down. She stepped forward and kissed him, soft and tentative at first, then deeper, pouring 15 years of longing into that single moment. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying. I love you too. Claire whispered. I tried not to. I tried to protect myself and Emma. But these past 3 weeks, you have shown me that it is possible to honor the past while building a future. Michael would want me to be happy. He told me that before he died, made me promise I would not stop living just because he was gone. Then let me make you happy. Nathan said. Let me be part of your family. I know I cannot replace Michael, and I would never try. But let me love you and Emma the way you both deserve. One condition. Claire said seriously. You have to be sure. Completely sure. Because if you walk away again, it will not just be my heart that breaks. It will be Emma's too, and I cannot let that happen. I am sure. Nathan took her hands. I am selling my penthouse, restructuring my company, and putting down roots here. I am not going anywhere. Emma appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide. Does this mean you are staying? For real? For real. Nathan confirmed. If that is okay with you. Emma ran to them, and Nathan and Claire both knelt down to embrace her. The three of them held each other in that classroom surrounded by children's artwork, and Nathan felt something click into place deep in his soul. This was what success actually looked like. Not money or fame or business achievements, but love and connection and belonging. Over the following months, Nathan kept his promise. He established a small consulting office in Riverside Falls and worked remotely, traveling to Seattle only when absolutely necessary. He bought a charming house 3 blocks from Claire's, with a big backyard where Emma could play. He attended every one of Emma's school events, helped Claire with her art projects, and became a fixture in the community. The town gossip eventually died down as people saw that Nathan was serious about his commitment. He and Claire took things slowly, dating properly, building a foundation of trust and partnership. Emma flourished with the stability and love, her grief over losing her father gradually transforming into precious memories rather than constant pain. 1 year after returning to Riverside Falls, Nathan proposed to Claire on the old wooden bridge where they had carved their initials decades ago. Emma was there too, wearing a new dress she had picked out herself, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. When Claire said yes, Emma cheered and declared that now her painting of the family would be real. Standing there with the 2 people who had become his entire world, Nathan realized that true wealth had nothing to do with money. It was measured in shared breakfasts and bedtime stories, in paint-stained clothes and spontaneous laughter, in the quiet comfort of knowing you were exactly where you belonged. He had spent 15 years chasing fortune, only to discover that love had been waiting for him in the same small town where his journey began. The river flowed beneath them, constant and eternal, just as their love would be. Nathan had finally come home, not to a place, but to the people who made anywhere feel like home. And this time, he was never leaving again. The end.